Well, Hillary Clinton working to turn Donald Trump's taunts to her advantage, like the use of a vulgarity when referring to her loss to President Obama back in 2008. The New York Times writing, Mrs. Clinton's aides could barely believe their good fortune. Mr. Trump had just given them new fodder to galvanize women behind her candidacy, and they used it. Well, joining us now, Evan Siegfried, GOP strategist and president of SOM Consulting, and Harlan Hill, Democratic strategist and political consultant. Evan, let's start with you. You agree this helps Hillary Clinton?
Absolutely, it does help Hillary because she can bring up the war on women. And even though it's a fictitious war, it really resonates with women voters who are a very important voting bloc. At the same time, I think she's being sort of offended-ish by what's going on. She's received over 6 figures in contributions from Donald Trump to the Clinton Global Initiative, and she refuses to return them. If she wanted to show real leadership, she should.
Well, Harlan, in an age where we have women who are going to be allowed to serve in all combat roles, who are astronauts, who are doctors and lawyers, 2 prominent women in this presidential election, do women really need a champion, or is this almost insulting to some women and some female voters?
I think it is a little bit insulting. I think we are ready for a female president. Clearly, the country is ready for it. I'm really concerned here that Hillary is unifying the Republicans. The Republican base around Trump. I'm concerned that if she really tries to get down in the mud and take him head on, toe to toe, that she's going to get messy. And I've never seen her win a battle like that. Look at Obama in 2008, for instance. She needs to be careful.
Evan, you actually say that this is bad for the Republican nominee, and can you kind of break down what you mean in terms of the primary versus in terms of a general election?
Well, it's good for Trump in the primary in that there is this persisting rumor that Trump is really a Hillary Clinton plant. And for him to go after Hillary so strongly, it puts that a little bit to rest. But in the general election, it kills Republicans with women, which is the crucial voting bloc for any Republican to win the White House, or Democrat for that matter. President Obama won 56% of the female vote in 2012, and if Hillary Clinton's the nominee, we've got to see the threshold is 56 or even higher, just starting off for her. Whereas, so we're going to have an uphill climb to get women, and insulting women based upon gender is not a way to win the women's vote.
Well, Harlan, I want to read a tweet that Jennifer Palmieri, who is Hillary Clinton's communications director, tweeted. She said, "We are not responding to Trump, but everyone who understands the humiliation this degrading language inflicts on all women should." What's your response to this?
Well, it's clear that they are talking about Trump, and so I think it's really disingenuous for the Clinton campaign to not just acknowledge it and embrace it. If they're going to take Trump head on, then take him head on, but don't tiptoe around it. I'd want a little bit more honesty out of the Clinton campaign, to be honest with you.
So do the American people.
And Evan, on Wednesday night, Mr. Trump also tweeted. He said this: "Hillary, when you complain about a penchant for sexism, who are you referring to?" And he also said, "Be careful." What do you make of this?
Well, he's clearly trying to bring up the Clinton scandal and really refresh voters' memories from the mid-'90s. But at the same time, I don't think that's going to resonate with voters. I think Bill Clinton has an overall favorability rating, and attacking him really is just going to be a waste of his time and energy. He should actually focus on his policies, which are very scarce to begin with. If he wants to be serious about becoming president, he should lay out his vision for America other than make America great again by doing X, Y, and Z. He should say by going out and increasing this or tweaking that. It's just he's not doing that yet.
But Harlan, in some ways, is this whole feud sort of good for both of them? I mean, is Hillary Clinton sort of placing herself as the leader in this whole race, and Trump as well, by sort of pitting themselves against each other?
No question. I think that she's giving Trump the oxygen that he lives on. It's clear that he hasn't spent very much on his campaign overall, that this is what he thrives on. The fact that we are discussing this right now and he is on par with Hillary Clinton has elevated him to the leader of the Republican Party in my mind. It is the Clinton campaign's tacit acknowledgement that he is her real opponent.
And I'm sure there will be much more to come on all of this. Evan Siegfried, Harlan Hill, thank you so much.
Merry Christmas.
Fox is America's election headquarters. You've seen your last Republican debate for 2015. The next one, 3 weeks away. Jeb Bush and Chris Christie are embracing what some are calling a new strategy. According to the New York Times, the two are playing the guilt card in the first primary state of New Hampshire. praising the Granite State voters there as sober-minded people who understand the importance of policy and saying the entire country relies on them to choose wisely. Let's talk about that strategy with Guy Benson, political editor at townhall.com, also a Fox News contributor. So if you go to New Hampshire voters and say, you know, you guys are really important and you really need to make the right choice here, is it going to work? Is it going to help?
Well, I don't necessarily say it's guilt, right? First of all, there is no more promiscuous purveyor of guilt and sort of victimhood in this campaign than Hillary Clinton, who's constantly playing the woman card and seeing misogyny around every corner to sort of discredit some of her critics. When it comes to the Republicans, though, I think what Christie and Bush are doing, I'm not sure it'll work, but what they're trying to do is appeal to New Hampshire voters and say, look, you guys have a traditional role in this process, and that is to be serious people who care about policy depth, who care about retail campaigning, and that is, the subtext there is you've got to reject this sort of flood the zone, celebritized Trumpism. We shall see if that pays dividends for Messrs. Bush and Christie.
Well, why is Donald Trump doing well in New Hampshire?
Because he's doing well everywhere else, too. I mean, he is someone who sucks up so much attention, so much energy, and he's speaking to a certain visceral sense that a lot of Republicans and center-right voters and a lot of independents, frankly, share at the moment, a disdain, a contempt for the political class. He's tapping into it. It's not something that I particularly care for much of the time, but it's not difficult to draw a line between what he's doing and how he's doing in the polls.
It is not looking like he's going to win Iowa. Ted Cruz is solidly in front there. If Donald Trump were to come out of the first two voting states, Iowa and New Hampshire, without a victory, what does that do to his campaign?
Look, if it's 0 for 2, that's an issue. And that's what you've got a lot of Republican voters who are not Donald Trump fans saying, how do you stop him? How could he be stopped? If Ted Cruz wins in Iowa, not a sure bet, but Cruz is doing what he needs to do to win there. And then if New Hampshire goes to someone like Christie or Marco Rubio, then sort of the aura of winning and dominance and power and success that emanates from Donald Trump, that starts to get eroded, and voters say, all right, maybe this whole thing was a bit of a mirage. Let's get serious, moving on to South Carolina, Nevada, and beyond.
Here's a quote from Jeb Bush to New Hampshire voters. You're the answer. The question is, will New Hampshire want to support a guy who might tarnish this extraordinary reputation that you have, which is first in the nation status, where you make people walk through hot coals each and every time they come, where you challenge people. Pretty effective.
Yeah, I mean, good luck with that. If I'm Jeb Bush, I'm looking at the polls and saying, my goodness, I'm in 5th or 6th place nationally now. Maybe he should make a case for himself rather than playing into this whole thing of saying, well, you guys better not do this with Trump because you wouldn't want to embarrass yourselves. Again, I'm skeptical that that will work.
Let's talk about somebody who was in second place, solidly in second place, first in some polls, who is now down there with the Jeb Bushes, talking about Dr. Ben Carson. He has said that his campaign is going to undergo a big shakeup, that everybody's job is sort of on the line. Then he comes back and says, well, no, I trust my team and we're just going to tweak some things. What is it?
I don't know. And I think what we're seeing is an inexperienced candidate melting a little bit under the white hot spotlight of a presidential campaign. So massive shakeup, not a big shakeup. There's chaos in the Carson campaign right now, and I can understand why he's frustrated. You look at Iowa. That is a state that he must win. At the end of October, the very beginning of last month in November, he was at 32% and leading in that state. He has now dipped in the Real Clear Politics average into single-digit support there. It's not working, and my suspicion is it's not because of his team. It's not because of some sort of they're spending too much money, which they are. I think what's happened is a lot of voters on the Republican side woke up in a post-Paris, post-San Bernardino world and said, this is a guy that we like, who we respect, with an incredible life story. We're not totally confident he's prepared to be commander-in-chief. I think that's what's happened to Ben Carson.
Yeah, obviously foreign policy is coming to dominate a lot of people's minds in this election. Guy Benson, townhall.com.
Merry Christmas, John.
Merry Christmas to you.
Republican presidential candidate Dr. Ben Carson says he's about to make a major campaign shakeup. We do know he's been sliding in the polls recently. Dr. Carson told several media outlets that every job on his staff is, quote, on the table. The move follows a report which his campaign spent more money than it brought in October.
I do have concerns about everything. I mean, everything's on the table. We're constantly looking at everything, looking to see if there are ways to improve things, you know, if there are personnel changes that need to be made.
And then Dr. Carson later tried to walk back those comments, seemingly, insisting that he has full confidence in his senior advisors. What's going on here behind the scenes, do you think, Andrea? Because you've been on a number of campaigns. You know how this works.
When the staff becomes the story, someone hand me a fork. It's not good for Ben Carson. And I know that sometimes candidates think it's good to put out there that I'm going to make some changes. So people go, oh, okay, that is code for rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic. Or to use a medical analogy, since the doctor likes to use one, the campaign is in hospice, Harris. Yes. And this is not a good message. Again, there's real trouble there. And we've seen him struggle over the last couple of weeks, not just with foreign policy, but with the abortion issue. When he conflated pro-lifers with terrorists.
That ad-lib off messaging.
Did not like that.
But I think we should, you know what I love about Dr. Carson, and I know so many friends, including my parents, who love Dr. Carson because he's a good guy. Yeah. I mean, I don't know him personally, but he comes across it. He's not going to go and try to, you know, knock his competition down and speak badly. He's a good guy. I don't know if he's presidential, but he's a good guy.
It's a good start.
Well, and that's the part of the equation.
Good start,
I don't think doing this is a good guy. Do you know how hard campaign staffers work for you? Yeah. They get blood, sweat, and tears. We're talking about the holiday season. And right now, you're basically insinuating that you're going to fire your entire staff coming into New Year's, and you're going to blame them.
Let me ask you about that.
No, I just think for me, politically, for a candidate, I think it's just a lack of leadership. It's just lack of organization. And I think it actually shows a lack of character on his part. And I know everybody loves Ben Carson, but this is green rookie stuff.
All right, so here's my question. Behind the scenes, what's going on if he comes back and says he needs to walk that back, do you think?
It's even worse.
Too late.
It's even worse. I mean, why say anything at all? So now you have a story about the fact that you don't have confidence in your staff. These are the staff, as Megan points out, that are talking to the press, that are your mouthpieces. You don't have confidence in them? That's not good. Then you walk it back and say, just kidding? It is a 24-hour news cycle that is not
Ben Carson. He won't walk that back. Because I think,
like you said, he's a good guy, right? But I don't necessarily want a good guy as president. I want a good guy to be my next door neighbor or to walk my dog. I want a competent guy in the White House.
Joanne, I don't want any good guy to be president, but I want our president to be a good guy.
Well, yes,
I want him to be honest. I want him to have values. I want him to be able to speak his mind. And I think Ben Carson, who is a candidate for president, he is a good guy, and it's a very good start.
Well, yeah, and that is reflected in the polls as well. But
I'm sorry, I have to interject, and I feel weird debating with a priest. I'm so sorry. I don't know, I just
do. You had no problem not in the green room.
I know, but I have to say,
better you than me, Megan.
We'll get to that, Andrea. I got a few things to mention.
These people are gaining weight. They're away from their families. They are out there, meat and potatoes, campaigning on the road for this man. And the way he is going to repay them is he's going to go do an interview where he's basically saying, I'm going to fire everyone.
At least he's telling them what he's going to do.
I think it shows a lack of character. I think it shows a lack of leadership.
I think it's rookie.
I just sort of question this whole, and you guys both have been on campaigns before. I question the whole thing of airing out what's in your head in public before you let your staff know. It doesn't matter what time of the year it is. I mean, he had a conversation with the public before he had a conversation. And how do we know? Because the follow-up from him would suggest that, oh, no, I didn't mean the senior advisors. No, because those are the people who've got to run this campaign through the end of the year.
Listen, the buck stops with whoever's running the campaign. So you can say that they're not doing a good job or I've made some poor decisions, but it is ultimately, Jono, a reflection on you as a candidate because you're the one that okayed them. If you can't manage the campaign, then how are you going to manage the country?
And the country might think you're trustworthy, but if your campaign staff doesn't, that's your bigger problem.
And as you said, they're talking to the press. You know, it's like we're in a hospital, we're the patients, and would he do that to the nurses, to the nursing staff?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's Ben Carson for Surgeon General. Fair enough.
Oh, interesting.
Right?
I like that.
Or head of HHS.
All right.
He's a good man, and I think he's a very smart
He's a good man. He's just so green, man. This is the major leagues. We got to beat Hillary.
But they said they want